What's going on, lads and lasses? Welcome back to 100% Mag. So we head into this game tomorrow, 4:30 kickoff, live on Sky Sports, down at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Another away game, fresh off the back of our last away game, of course, against Everton at Goodison Park. We all know what happened in that game. So if you want to refresh your memory on that, go check out my reaction to that game. But we've got a chance here to bounce back against the Tottenham side, who at the moment are winless in 5 PL games and making it just a single point gained from their last 15 on offer. So it's a perfect time for us to be able to catch them going into this game. This is a perfect time to catch Tottenham on and off. And Postecoglou, of course, has been doing some fantastic stuff with Tottenham. But they were beaten 2-1 at home by West Ham on Thursday. Of course, before taking us on tomorrow. At the moment, the Premier League table, as shown on screen, of course, is us in 7th place. Man United sandwiched between us and Tottenham on 27 points. Tottenham, of course, in 5th place on 27 points. But if we were to win this game against Tottenham tomorrow in that 4:30 kickoff time slot, then, of course, or depending on results, we would leapfrog Man U and Tottenham and move into 5th place, only 1 point behind Man City, who occupy 4th place in the table. Of course, that is all depending on what happens with results on the Man City side of things. But we will be pushing on towards that top 4 spot, which we are aiming to get, because if we can get in there, then we can get Champions League football. Of course, we can still get Champions League football if we get 5th and England end up getting, of course, that extra Champions League spot for next season. Then, of course, we could still get Champions League by finishing 5th, but we'll want to finish as high as possible in the league. To be able to do this, of course, we'll have to see what the referee and VAR do in this game tomorrow, of course, with it being once again another Northwest contingent of officials, with Chris Kavanagh coming in for a third helping. The Manchester-based official, of course, following on from a 1-0 home victory over Man City in the Carabao Cup, of course, and a 2-0 loss in the Premier League down at, of course, Bournemouth's Vitality Stadium. Looking at our record, however, so far, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium since they moved in there, of course, back in the 1920 season. We, of course, won 1-0 there with Joe Linton scoring the goal in the game, the only goal in the game back in the 1920 season. Then, of course, it was a 1-1 the next season after that, then a 5-1 loss, and then, of course, last season, seeing we get a 2-1 win there with Wilson and Almiron. So far, we are 2 wins, 1 draw and 1 loss. Not a bad record, I've got to say, going into this game, of course, down at their stadium. So hopefully we can make that 3 wins, 1 draw and a loss, of course, at their stadium. But looking at Tottenham's team news going into the game, like I say, you know, they were beaten by West Ham on Thursday 2-1 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But on their team news side of things, James Maddison, Ryan Sessegnon, Eric Dyer, Manus Solomon, Alfie Whiteman, Mickey van der Ven, Ben Tuchel and Ivan Perisic all remain out. So that is good news for us, of course. And looking at our news going into it, we are still with quite a few players on the injury table. Elliot Anderson, Harvey Barnes, Sven Botman, Dan Burn, Sean Longstaff. There's a little update on which I will talk about in a moment. Javi Manquillo is still a long way away from coming back. I think he may be moving on in January, to be honest. Jacob Murphy as well is still a little bit off coming back. Nicky Pope has only just had surgery on a shoulder injury that he picked up in the recent game before we took on Everton, of course, at Goodison Park. Matt Targett also on the injury table. Sandro Tonali, of course, is banned for the rest of the season due to the gambling problem. Joe Willock is still on the injury table as well. And Callum Wilson, there is a small update on as well. Unconfirmed reports are suggesting that Longstaff could be in the squad for this game tomorrow, and there is some optimism that Botman and Wilson will be back in the near future, but no firm dates are yet set for the return of Botman and Wilson to the squad. Trippier and Jamal Lascelles remain 1 PL booking away from an automatic 1-game ban. In order to avoid that fate, they'll need to avoid, of course, bookings in the next 4 games in the Premier League for Newcastle. Lascelles, of course, left the field in the closing stages of the 3-0 defeat to Everton on Thursday, but is expected he will be available for this trip, of course, to Spurs. I haven't heard anything from Eddie in his press conference saying that there will be any players missing for this game that didn't play, that played, in the game against Everton. So it sounds like we are going to have the squad pretty much like we have had to have for the last 4 or 5 games now. Hopefully we do get to see a few more fresh legs coming back into the side, because that is one of the reasons really that, you know, we ended up with the result that we did in the Everton game, is because we've had to play with the same 11 for the past 4 games. You know, which isn't great. Meant that we didn't have any players on the bench that we could be bringing on as substitutes in the game. So, you know, it ends up really hampering you, especially when you need to be bringing on some fresh legs, you know, bringing some fresh ideas into the games as well. And it's hampering way at the moment because of the injury crisis that is going on. And it's entirely not our fault that this is happening as well, because it's the teams that we're playing against, you know, they're just hacking in it with players, taking players down, and the referees are just allowing it to happen. And this is really starting to hamper the whole season that we're having. We're having a fantastic season once again, and we are being screwed right, left and centre here by poor officiating, poor, you know, play by other teams that are playing against we, and it needs to be sorted. Something needs to be done about it. Also, you might have seen his social media post as well, talking about the incident that Jordan Pickford did towards the Newcastle United fans. You've heard my thoughts on that. There's been quite a few people having a go at it on it, saying, you know, I'm a bit soft for coming out with something like that. But at the end of the day, there's no room in this game, you know, in the yesteryears or now, you know, for players standing on a pitch and giving that sort of gesture towards Newcastle United fans, or just any fans in general. You know, that is not on. It should not be, you know, allowed at all. I'm hoping that the Premier League, you know, and whoever out there will come out and give him the rightful punishment that he deserves for that, because that is absolutely not on. We've seen it with Charleston when he threw the flare back into the crowd. You know, he ended up getting a ban for that. So surely Jordan Pickford should be getting a ban for giving that kind of gesture towards the fans. I mean, there's literal kids in the crowd there, you know, and he's giving that kind of gesture. It just bodes so many questions for people, you know, that they don't want to see, you know, what it is, because there's going to be so many kids, you know, that were at that game who might not know what that gesture means. They'll ask the parents, you know, and then that puts the parents on the spot, you know, to see what kind of gesture it is at the end of the day. So Jordan Pickford definitely needs to be done for that. Something definitely needs to be done about it. But enough about that. Anyway, remember to hit like, share, subscribe to the channels. I'm on the road to 2K subscribers, and I'll see you all for the match reaction after the Spurs game. However, lads.